Relentless Grind, episode 4. Welcome to Jess Bowie,
Thanks for having me.
owner of Valhalla Strength with her husband Brad.
Yep.
Interesting gym, specialising in the sport of powerlifting.
Yes.
I went to the gym yesterday and had a bit of a look around and talked to Brad. And one thing I noticed is, first of all, there's a lot more weight plates than a regular gym, which I didn't think about until I was there. And I was talking to Brad and he said that when you get 5 powerlifters all lifting 300 kilos, people get upset when they steal all the plates.
Yeah.
So I thought, there's lots of gyms in Townsville. Why would you open up another gym? But
Yeah.
obviously being a very sport-specific gym, it's a unique form of weightlifting, or as compared to the standard bodybuilding type gym.
Yeah.
And you yourself are a competitive powerlifter.
Yep.
Wow.
Yes.
So tell us a bit about that.
A few years ago, I'd sort of lost all of this weight. I was a really chunky kind of undergrad uni student at the time, and I'd said to my partner, I really feel like I need a goal. I've lost all this weight. I'm sort of directionless. Like I want something to look forward to and push for when I'm training. And I'd said, maybe I'd do bikini or fitness model or one of those sort of generic things that most women in Townsville do, because that's quite a popular focus. And then he said, I'd much rather see you do something with your strength, rather than focus on just how you look and losing weight and that kind of thing. And so then from there, I sort of was like, oh, okay. And he was a PT at one of the gyms in town, and there was these 2 really large kind of guys that he'd seen training heaps. Ryan Williams, he's number 1 under 125 kilo powerlifter. He lives here in Townsville, one of the biggest names in powerlifting at the moment. He'd seen him sort of training at a regular gym and was like, he's pretty strong. He does this powerlifting thing. Maybe have a chat to him. So Ryan and I sort of started having a chat, and he's this massive guy and I'm this tiny 40-something kilo female at the time. And he just started talking to me about this really cool sport, powerlifting, and I was like, all right, we'll give it a go. Turned out to be really good at it. I think the first couple of comps I did were just local kind of novice ones. There wasn't much really organised here for the kind of powerlifting that I wanted to do. So we went away a lot to Mackay, and I ended up being really good. Got a couple of junior national records and world records and that kind of thing with our federation. And then it just all sort of blossomed from there, really.
Yeah. You say, you talk very candidly about powerlifting as a sport.
Yep.
Now, a sport as compared to bodybuilding, it's very different, isn't it? It's not so focused on aesthetics or the way somebody looks. It's a specific movement.
Yep.
And I think that's what attracts a lot of people to it, is the sheer simplicity of it, combined with the absolute difficulty of it. I've been to a couple of the comps at your gym and watched, and to watch guys squat 300 kilos is mind-blowing. That massive steel bar bending on their shoulders, and it's an incredible thing to watch.
Yeah.
Do you have many girls train at your gym?
We do. And I have one lady, she's in her 50s. We've got a few ladies in their 40s, 30s, all of that kind of thing. So we're sort of like right across the age range, really. But I guess that's what's the beauty of the sport, is that it's really for anybody, and it's not about how you look and all that kind of thing. It's just about being better than what you were. And even when you go to the comps and things like that, you can see people who are going head to head for first place and that kind of thing, and they'll be cheering each other on. And at some of the national events and things, you'll have the person who's like gunning for first too, screaming there like, yeah, come on, kind of thing, because it's, even as much as it is that kind of one-on-one kind of sport, it's very much a everybody behind everybody kind of thing.
I got that vibe.
And everyone sort of screams for everyone. Doesn't matter if you know them, you don't know them, everyone just sort of goes for everyone, which is really quite empowering. And I think for women, it just takes the focus off, you have to be skinny and have this really fit ideal. You can be healthy and do what makes you happy.
And be strong, and being strong is definitely a healthy thing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you find many guys get put off? I mean, I know you're married, but as a girl who trains other girls, do you find girls that do this as a sport, does it put guys off sometimes in the social aspect of it?
I think for the younger ones, not so much. But for some of the older ladies, I think some of the guys that are in their 40s are a bit intimidated by some of the strong females and being like, oh wow, you do all of this like strength sport stuff and I'm just sort of interested in walking or running or something like that. So I think for maybe some of the older ladies, it might be challenging if they're sort of looking for a partner and finding someone who's sort of able to accept that they do a strength sport. But for a lot of the younger ones, a lot of the guys are like, oh wow, like a chick that lifts, that's really cool. So yeah, I guess it really sort of depends. But for the most part, for the most part, a lot of the guys are pretty like happy to see ladies, you know, doing this sport too. Which is good.
Definitely. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I imagine nutrition is a fairly big part of powerlifting.
Yeah.
One of my friends how we sort of joined the dots together trains at your gym, and his grocery bill must be huge because I watch him eat all the time.
Yeah.
He's an eating machine.
Yeah. And I guess that's a key difference between us and maybe some of the other sort of gyms and sports and stuff. I'm known for having a lolly jar because I'm a sweets person.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not a no carb zone. We're very much you know, people will come in still finishing off their food or snacks, and I'm forever putting containers of rice in the fridge and heating things up for people and that kind of thing, because everyone's always got to eat, because obviously it takes so much energy to do what we do. And as soon as you start starving your body, you just don't have the energy to do it. So it's crazy.
And when the diet's wrong, I suppose you're not going to progress in your lifts, and your technique's going to suffer and stuff if you're not lifting correctly and things like that.
Yeah.
I imagine it's basically the same. Now, powerlifting itself, let's go into that.
Yep.
It's a squat, a deadlift, and a bench press. That's the three main.
That's our 3 lifts, yeah.
Okay, and it's the combined weight of the 3 lifts gives you a total.
Yep.
So, for example, if you were really good at a squat but not so much at bench press, you would pick up on a squat what you missed out on a bench press to overall increase your total. That's sort of how it works?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So you sort of get 3 attempts at doing a squat, and then 3 attempts at doing a bench, and then 3 attempts at doing a deadlift. So whichever one you get the most weight on out of those 3 attempts per lift, that's the one we use to go towards your total. So if you do a really, really good first attempt with your squat, second one not so good, but your third one you manage to get a few extra kilos on there and it's all to the rules, then you'll get to keep that squat. Say it's 200 or something like that. Yeah. And if your bench is a bit poverty and not where you shine, but maybe your deadlift is, you can always sort of pick back up. So it can really be, you don't really know until the end who's going to win. Sometimes there's a clear winner, like for example Brian Williams, who I've mentioned before, where he's hundreds of kilos ahead of everybody, and you're sort of like, okay, someone's not going to add an extra 200 kilos to their bench and pick up. But for everybody else, it might be, 20 kilos difference in the squat, and then suddenly someone's bench is massive, and then deadlift not so much, and it can really get down to the wire, which is where some of the excitement comes in. If you're down to 5 kilos on that final deadlift about who's going to win, there is people just screaming and jumping around, and it's very exhilarating.
I suppose it's literally the difference of sometimes lifting at 6 more inches to winning the competition. So to have someone screaming at you, just push it up.
Yes.
This comes down to the simplicity of it at the end, I suppose. Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's really cool. Do you find obviously you train for these lifts by not just doing those lifts. You do other exercises and compound movements and things like that. Do you do things like yoga and Pilates and movements like that for stretching and flexibility and?
So we do like a combination of things. We'll always do our main lifts, like our squat, bench and dead on various days, but we always have a supplementary exercise. So we do heaps of variations of the main lifts as well. We have a lot of different bars. I'm not sure if you got to see any of them when you came in, but we've got like Saxon bars, axle bars, trap bars, safety bars, like all of these different kind of bars that just sort of load the weight a bit differently on your body and help you sort of train weaknesses and things like that. So we're always looking at training the bit that's the weakest in that movement just to get you really quite strong. Okay. And then obviously we get to do heaps of bodybuilding stuff as our accessory. So after we've done all that kind of stuff, because obviously the more muscle you have, the more weight you can try and move as well. So we do that a fair bit. Saturday mornings, we always do yoga. Some of us do yoga, I should say. Some of them are like, no, I can't move at all. I don't want to. So it sort of depends on the individual, but there's certainly lots of rolling and stretching that goes on for most people, like lots of foam rollers and balls and triggering and that kind of thing. I like the yoga side of things because it helps with a lot more mobility in your shoulders and your hips and that kind of thing. Because otherwise we're constantly loading up these muscles and if you just sort of stay rigid with it,
with little short movements
yeah,
and stuff.
Exactly. So I really like the yoga, and that's what I spend a lot of time doing. Most of our really competitive guys do, like, they have regular physio, regular massage, regular chiro, sort of keep on top of all of that stuff. Otherwise, the knots compound, and then it's not really very fun.
Now, next weekend, people, there is a competition happening at Valhalla.
There is,
yes. Guys and girls?
Guys and girls, yep. So this particular competition is part of our federation. So federation being Global Powerlifting Committee, that's who we sort of do our comps underneath.
The sanctioning body.
Sanctioning body. And they host nationals and states and those sorts of events in Australia as well as the rest of the world. So this is for people who are participating in this particular event. It means that they can qualify for nationals, they can try and go to states, they can try and set some Australian records, and so lots of interesting things can come from it. So it is quite competitive for a lot of the people. Earlier this year, our sanctioning body announced that they were introducing money into the support, because there's not been much money sort of in powerlifting in Australia anyway. So they've said there'll be this concept of the Triple Crown and $10,000 prize money up for grabs. So you have to podium and come first at a local meet, then at a state, we call them meets, powerlifting meets, So local, state, and then nationals. If you come first in all three events, then you get a share in the $10,000 with anyone else who does that as well. So we've got a few guys gunning for that.
Well, that's definitely a step in the right direction for a I wouldn't say it's a new sport, but it's a newly popular sport, especially in North Queensland and our area.
Yeah.
I've always been fairly interested in it and watched a lot of podcasts, American stuff, Mark Bell and guys like that that are forerunners, have been doing it for a long, long time. So it's really cool to see our local area picking up, taking on a new sport when there's so many. When I say gyms, I'll use that term very loosely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rooms with exercise bikes and a few dumbbells.
Yeah, lots of commercial kind of stuff getting around.
Yeah. So it's good to see a locally owned, operated, sport-specific gym.
Yeah, and we're very niche in that way, I guess, and being able to be very community-based. So everybody that trains there, I think, occasionally you might have the odd person with headphones in, but most of our members don't have headphones, and everybody is stuff that maybe you would expect would only take an hour and a half. People can be there 3 to 4 hours, purely because of the social side of things, and like everyone supports each other. There's never no sharing or anything like that, like people handing out benches, spotting people, helping load plates, and especially when people are leading up to a big comp, there's a lot of helping wrap knees and helping people find the right equipment and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that'd have to be. I mean, when you've got to put 200 kilos on a bar, it takes a lot of time anyway, and then you're not going to bench press 200 kilos without somebody have a safety net there.
Absolutely.
Like somebody's got to spot you, and otherwise it starts to get dangerous. So it becomes a two-person process, and some of those guys doing 300 kilo lifts. You probably have to have two spotters.
You do. You usually got to have two people on the sides and then one person behind them. And I guess like when people first come to us and they're like, "Hey, I'm not really strong. I'm not sure if I should get started," and that kind of thing. And like everybody starts somewhere. So I guess for us, it's like educating people about it doesn't matter if you don't feel very strong or if you feel weak or you've never done something like that before. We always try and help people, and certainly encouraging the safety component and to be able to work together. Because it's a team sport, you cannot do it alone, that's for sure.
That's right. And for anybody that's thinking, I can't do powerlifting, that's rubbish. If you're not very strong, that's the perfect time to start powerlifting, because you're only going to get stronger by taking up a sport like that. If your aim is for strength, that's the sport for you. Because if you can squat 300 kilos, you are strong. Holy smoke.
We had one guy, again, Ryan Williams, like I said, #1 in Australia at the moment, which is incredibly good for like the local community, I think, as well.
Absolutely,
we have quite a few high-end powerlifters within our federation here in Townsville, which is really good. And that's really what prompted us to sort of start in the first place, is because I was training with these guys. Neil Martin, he's another one. He's an under 82 kilo person. So not everyone is this huge, massive 125 kind of guy. Like he's under 82s. We've got another kid, he's 17, and he is under 75s. But yeah, we've got a lot of sort of high-end athletes, I guess, and we didn't really have a place where we felt like we could get the right equipment that's exactly what we use in comps and things like that. and that's sort of what made Brad and I initially open up, because I wanted to use the benches that I was going to use in comps and be able to get more into my sport. And since then we've been able to grow it, which is amazing. So
so it's been a successful journey so far. And
absolutely. And like I said, like we've got heaps of guys, all different ages and all different sizes, that are doing some really amazing stuff. Aaron, he's one of our young fellas. He's 17, soon to be 18. He squatted 250, I think, at nationals, under 75 kilos. So he was 74 kilos or something like that.
That's
250 kilos. It's amazing.
For anybody watching, that's one of these drums full of water and 50 kilos on top. That is insane.
Yes, it is. And he's like, so you just sort of wouldn't expect that, I guess, from that kind of young person, but yeah, this is what he loves. Yeah,
it's obviously it's showing a lot of dedication and a lot of practice and a lot of time spent on his craft. If he's that dedicated to push his body to that at 17, that's going to stand him in good stead for the rest of his life, I think. So. Yeah,
and we're some of the bigger names like Ryan and Neil, they're both in their early 40s, so it's not just the young guys who are doing amazing things, it's some of the older guys too. And I guess that's the beauty of the sport. It doesn't matter how old you are when you get started.
There's no sort of use by date.
No.
As long as you.
Yeah, as long as you keep doing it.
And you keep saying under 75 kilos. Is that the bit like boxing? It's a weight.
You've got your weight divisions.
A weight division.
Exactly.
Okay, I understand.
So you're all sort of slotted in. So then you're not, 50 kilos going and get someone who's 85 kilos or something like that. You sort of get put against people who are around your kind of weight, which makes it a little bit more fair and a little bit more interesting. But
nice.
Yeah, so that's
cool.
pretty good.
So next weekend is the comp. What time?
So 10 a.m. all of the lifting starts.
Yep.
We're usually done by about 3 o'clock, but 10 o'clock the lifting starts. Usually we try and have all of the ladies go through together, and then the men for the squats, and then we do the benches and then the deadlifts. But they sort of get to go through all together.
Yeah, nice.
Usually by the deadlifts we've got sort of a lot more people and everyone's sort of getting cheering more energy going through. Yeah.
The last couple of comps I've been to, the vibe was not what I expected at all. It was like going to a rock concert or something. Everyone's cheering. It was really cool. The gym was packed, it was standing room only. It was really cool to watch. So anybody out there that watches, go and check it out. If you've got any remote interest in it, or even if you just want something to do on a Sunday, go check it out for an hour. It will definitely open your eyes into something cool and something that's happening in our North Queensland area.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's.
It's pretty amazing. And I guess because you've got really small females, you've got really big guys, it's such a variety of different people with their kids up there screaming go dad, it's really nice to see.
That's
like
awesome.
You said, it is a bit like a rock concert because we've sort of got loud music going and everyone's shouting and cheering.
And the lights, I noticed the lights, is that when the lift's done correctly, it goes 3 grams?
Yep, so we've got the light board up there that sort of tells you how everyone did, so it doesn't matter if you can't sort of hear or you're not sure what's sort of happening, you can always look up and see the lights to tell you how it's sort of going. So
So it is kind of a cool spectator sport too.
It is,
Yeah, very cool.
And it's always very interesting to watch different people and be like, how much is that? Oh wow, get that kind of excitement with it all. I think the deadlifts is usually probably the most popular part for spectators because that's where you get to see lots of weight on the bar and people sort of doing some really cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we might wrap that up. Thank you very much for coming and
thanks for having me
and having a chat to us. Check it out, people. Valhalla Strength. What street?
We're in Virgil Street.
Virgil Street, Hyde Park.
Just across from Castletown.
10 o'clock next Sunday. Go and check it out. You'll be very impressed, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's okay. Thank you.